Stopped. Have you ever stopped and wondered what actually holds the internet together? I mean, really. It's not magic, it's code. And the most basic fundamental piece of that code, the literal skeleton of every single website you've ever visited, is something called HTML. So let's pull back the curtain and see how it all works from the ground up.
So here's the game plan. First, we're going to talk about what HTML actually is, the skeleton of the web. Then we'll get our hands dirty and create our very first web page. After that, we'll look at the core building blocks you'll use all the time. And finally, we'll bring our page to life with some links and images. Sound good? Let's do it.
All right, first things first. What in the world is HTML? Well, you can think of it as the silent architect behind every website, the thing that gives structure and shape to everything you see online.
So HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language, which I know sounds super technical, but let's break it down. Hypertext is just a fancy word for the links that connect all the pages on the web together. And markup language? That just means it's a language we use to mark up our text with tags to tell the web browser what's what. You know, hey browser, this is a big headline. Or this right here, this is a paragraph. That's all it is.
You know, a really great way to think about this is to imagine you're building a house. HTML is the boring but essential stuff. It's the foundation, the wooden frame, the walls, and the roof. It's the structure. Now, all the pretty stuff, the paint color, the furniture, the cool light fixtures, that's another language called CSS. But here's the thing, you can't hang a picture on a wall that doesn't exist. Today, we're focused on building that solid structure with HTML.
So why should you even bother learning this? Honestly, because it's the universal language of the web. Understanding even a little bit of HTML kind of demystifies the whole internet and gives you this foundational power to understand and even create your own little corner of it. It's a game changer.
Okay, enough theory, let's get practical. Right now, we are going to go from a totally blank screen to a real working web page file. And I promise you, it is way easier than you think.
You only need 3 things to get started. First, a simple text editor. VS Code is a fantastic free one. Second, just create a new folder anywhere on your computer. Call it website or whatever you want. And third, inside that new folder, create a new file and name it index.html. That .html ending is super important. It's the magic signal that tells your computer, hey, this is a web page.
Now, take a look at this. This is what's called boilerplate code. It's basically the universal starter kit for any web page on the planet. That first line just tells the browser it's a modern HTML document. Then you see the 2 main sections, the head and the body.
So let's quickly break this down. That HTML tag wraps the whole shebang. The head section is for all the behind-the-scenes stuff, like the title you see in your browser tab. But the body, that's where the action is. Anything and everything you actually see on the web page goes right inside the body.
Okay, so we've got our file set up. It's like a blank canvas. Now it's time to actually add some content using HTML's most basic building blocks. They're called tags.
And here's the core idea. The one thing you really need to get. In HTML, you wrap your content in these tags. Most of them come in pairs. You have an opening tag, then your content, and then a closing tag, which looks almost the same but has a little /. It's like making a content sandwich, and the browser knows exactly what to do with what's inside. Let's look at a few of the big ones. H1 is your main heading, the biggest, most important title on the page. P is for any regular old paragraph. Simple enough, right? Now check out BR and HR. These guys are a little different. They're self-closing, which means they don't wrap around anything. They just do one job. BR creates a line break, and HR pops in a horizontal line.
So, we've made a document. It has the title, it has some text. That's cool. But the whole point of the World Wide Web is that it's a web. It's all connected. So, how do we make those connections?
And this is where it starts to get really fun. We're about to add links and images and turn our little text file into a real dynamic web page.
The magic happens with the anchor tag, which is just A. Whatever text you put between the opening A and the closing A becomes a clickable link. But a link to where? That's where the href attribute comes in. An attribute is just extra info for a tag. Here, href is where you put the destination address. And you've basically got 2 types of links you can make. An absolute URL is the full web address. It takes you to a totally different website out there on the internet. A relative URL is for linking internally, to another file right there in your own project folder.
So what about pictures? For that, we use the IMG tag. And just like that line break tag we saw a minute ago, this one is also self-closing. It makes sense, right? It doesn't wrap around any text, it just plops an image right onto the page.
But an image tag by itself is useless. It needs those attributes we talked about, those extra instructions. The most important one is SRC, which stands for source. That tells the browser where to find the image file. Just as important, though, is alt. This is the alternative text that describes the image. It's absolutely crucial for accessibility, and it's what shows up if the image is broken. Then, of course, you've got width and height for sizing.
And believe it or not, that's it. You now have the fundamental keys to building on the web. You get the idea of structure, text, links, and images. Even the most complicated websites in the
We talked about those extra instructions. The most important one is SRC, which stands for source. That tells the browser where to find the image file. Just as important, though, is alt. This is the alternative text that describes the image. It's absolutely crucial for accessibility, and it's what shows up if the image is broken. Then, of course, you've got width and height for sizing.
And believe it or not, that's it. You now have the fundamental keys to building on the web. You get the idea of structure, text, links, and images. Even the most complicated websites in the world are still built on this exact foundation. So now you've got the keys. The only real question left is, what are you going to build first?